you again for everyone joining in today. I think what we've shown today is we really have a very amazing and a very engaged community of stakeholders. We had 3,000 plus registrations, 45 plus different speakers, 25 plus different partners sign up, and hundreds of you joined us online across different platforms. So really just sort of your initiative to attend this conference, to learn from this conference is really appreciated, but also demonstrates sort of your commitment and sort of your will to improve education for almost every child, not only in our country, but across the globe as well. I'll share some of my major takeaways as well, but if you can go onto your chat and maybe type in what was sort of that one learning that you're taking away from today, any specific session, any specific speaker, any quote that you remember from today would be amazing to hear from you as well. So we'll give you roughly about 30 seconds to a minute to type down your responses, and we'll highlight a few of them while you type it down. But we'd love to hear what is that one thing that you are taking away from everything that we learned from all our speakers, panelists, students, experts, educators from our sessions today. As you're typing down, I was scrolling through some of the responses, and I remember one of the comments that an educator wrote down, which really touched me. And he said, as educators, it doesn't matter if the mode of schooling is online, if the mode of schooling is in person, or if the mode of schooling is hybrid. We as educators can make a difference. And I think that was very inspiring, and it's absolutely true. That all this entire community is coming together to do a lot of different things as well. So thank you for that as well. Would love to see some of your learnings come in as we go through. But let me share one or two things that I learned across some of the sessions as well. And by no means is this the primary takeaway, but it's one or two things that I really took to heart. In the first session with Roshni, I think the three things that struck out was her saying, real learning does not always happen on the screen. It happens outside these classrooms. And I think you saw that theme across all the different panelists today as well, which is we must connect learning outcomes with life skills. There is synergy between the two. And the fact that, children can help provide the context we live in. They can help define the world that we are growing up in, and that there is a lot of power there. In the next session, I'm seeing some comments come in through this, which is not to instruct, but to invite. So from our panel discussions, I love that, which is creating a mindset that invites, that really opens our mind and gets ideas, not just instructs one way in our minds. Again, a really good highlight that came out here as well, which is, rebuilding our schools, rebuilding this system that's been devastated over the last few years must start with the heart, and that's where we should be focused on, because there's just so much that's going on in our lives today. Again, taking away the mindset shift, this mindset shift from going from obedience to respect as a way to unleash the student voice, and thank you for that, Shaheen, is understanding that obedience is very different from respecting someone else's opinion and giving our students an ability and a chance to express that as well. Finding that collective will across all of our communities, all of our stakeholders, to bring those ideas to scale. We must work together. Again, a lot of different learnings from the panel discussion here as well, but these were some of the biggest ones that I took away, and I'll keep reading some of those out as they come through. Again, in our last session with Michelle, I think the three things that struck out to me was, as adults, as partners, as experts, we can share what we do. We can provide a learning in our own way, in a very non-traditional way if possible. And she gave some really good examples of organizations that are doing that. She also mentioned that adults can guide and support children in driving what they are learning. And this comes from the idea that, we can go out to children and we can listen to them and speak to them and talk about their ideas and help them really bring out what they are trying to do in their own learning journeys as well. And I think through the questions Michelle taught us, there's just so much room for us to reflect. There's so much room for us to adapt and asking sort of the right questions those were some of the biggest takeaways here as well. And I'm seeing, some amazing comments that is coming from the community of stakeholders here. So preparing children for life is definitely more important. Getting those outcomes that are connected to life skills, and how do we do that? How do we make that connection? That was a big theme that was coming out across the board as well. We knew, again, assessments must be tailored to students. So amazing things, and you saw some of the videos and all the journey that students have been through. And there's just so much more reason, given today's concept, to go and build something that's just bigger and better. So just sort of wrapping everything up, as you know, today was our focus on schools and schooling, and we wanted to give everyone just a quick context on where we are today and what is happening. We heard from educators, students, we heard from a lot of different panelists and experts across the board. And this just sets the context of just how grave the problem is and across the entire chain as well. But what we'll really be doing tomorrow is focusing on, well, now what? Now that we know the problem, now that we've heard some of the solutions, well, how do we really build this future all together? And I think in the inspirED Chronicles video, you saw some of those really harsh figures, 9 to 14 years to recover the learning loss that's essentially been generated over the last few years. 9% of a loss of future learning income. 24 million children, again, at the risk of permanently dropping out of school. And this just shows the gravity of the problem. But the real challenge here is, well, now how do we build back? How do we build back that future? I think tomorrow's session is really going to be focusing a lot on that. We'll start with what is that gap and how do we bridge that gap? We'll hear from some really, really interesting minds, some great innovators and entrepreneurs who've done amazing things to bridge that gap, not only in our rural schools, but also in our urban schools as well. The slight focus on bridging the gap specifically in early childhood education as well. And we'll bring it all together again with panelists in the learning spots. We'll have organizations like Center Square Foundation, Dream a Dream, Google coming to our sessions tomorrow. So please definitely dial in as you did today and be as actively engaged of a community as you were today. I will end with a poem that I found online, and this really touched me. So I'll narrate it and I'll leave you with this. And the poem is, I am back. The day has come, I am back, I say. I find my seat and start the day. Sharpen pencils, big grin. I just can't wait to dive on in. My teacher looks like so much fun. My learning here has just begun. I'll meet new friends and old ones too. I'm feeling great. How about you? With that, thank you everyone. Thanks a lot. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow on our second day of inspirED. Thanks everyone.